exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
This is Helmets and Heels
on 1010XL.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
Taylor Dahl still on vacation. She'll be back on Monday, but don't worry, we have her record predictions. She has the Jacksonville Jaguars going 10-7. I think, Mia, most people in this building are going to be somewhere between 8 wins and 12 wins. I don't think anybody's going to be less than 8.
Which is interesting because Vegas has the Jaguars odds around 7.5.
Right.
I joined the boys on BetMGM last night for their schedule release show, and I said, I think that's about right for the Jags. And so I went into our official schedule predictions this morning, and record predictions. Record predictions, whatever. I already butchered it, folks. I'm gonna save you time. I butchered it in the video we recorded.
I butchered my math in the video. I had us going, the Jaguars going 12-5, and in reality, I actually had the Jaguars going 11-6 according to our predictions.
I'm gonna blame the power going out.
I'm gonna blame that I had to do both Taylor's and mine. That's what I'm.
There you go. Point being, I anticipated looking at the schedule and landing somewhere between 7 to 9-ish wins, and I think that's just because, as is natural, I think, folks here, boots on the ground in Duval County, are more optimistic than perhaps what the folks out in the desert are thinking about this first-year regime. And then I went through and, 718 on the text line, design my lifetime enclosures. 10-7, question mark? Trust me, I was surprised, too. When I came away, I looked at the big board, and I had the Jaguars at 10-7 as well. And I think, again, so much of this is way too early speculation because you do look at what the Tennessee Titans have been the last few years. You do look at what the Indianapolis Colts have been against the Jaguars the last few years in particular, let alone what they've been at the larger level. The New York Jets, so many of those teams the Jaguars will face in the second half of the season have struggled over the last 5 to 10 years, have been among the teams, that include the Jaguars, that have had losing records. And so in turn, you say, okay, if the Jaguars can find something, even if it's, as I've predicted, a 2-5 start to the year, but they're competing, maybe that could power them later on down the home stretch.
Normally, I would say the first month of the season is going to really tell us who this team is. I'm not sure that that's the case this season because you start off with a Panthers team that I think is atrocious, no matter what they added in the draft. The Bengals do have a bad defense. Now, granted, I think Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase are incredibly difficult to defend, and so that'll be a high-scoring game. And the Bengals certainly could win that game. It's in Cincinnati, and this is a team that, especially if they somehow, some way improve their defense, I think they're a probably top 5 team in the NFL. The Texans here in Jacksonville, the Texans are not world beaters, and at the 49ers, all of those games to me are quote winnable, but obviously you could also lose all 4. But because of that second half of the schedule, to your point, I think even if you win 0-4, there's still a way because of the way that the AFC South is, like you said, but also some of these games in the back half are just not that hard, at least in theory, as we sit here today. And so I'm not going to, jump off the ship that the Jaguars could make the playoffs, even if they had a rough start to the season with a 1-3.
Well, and that's the thing. And this is what I said last night, too, with the national team. I was just like, look, it depends on your viewpoint of the AFC South. Is 9-8 good enough to win the AFC South? Because I believe the Jaguars, even in their current form, where they are far from the finished product that Tony Maselli, Liam Cohen, and James Gladstone ultimately is looking for them to be this year and beyond, I believe they have enough to compete right now with that division. And so in turn, is that enough to go 9-8 or 8-9 and win this division? Because if it is, then yes, 7.5 over-under win total right now. The Jaguars are right there. Now, if you believe that Anthony Richardson's going to somehow turn it around in Indianapolis, if you believe Cam Ward is about to light the world on fire, then maybe you have a different interpretation.
Yeah, to me, Mia, the offensive lines of the 4 teams, I think, is a really good case study. The Titans have had a terrible offensive line. The Colts has been decent, but certainly bad quarterback play. And the Texans have had a bad offensive line. And the Jaguars have had a bad offensive line. So to me, whoever ends up with the best offensive line of those 4 teams, I think that team wins the AFC South. And as we sit here today, I think the moves that the Jaguars have made, and I certainly put full trust in Tony Baselli because he's a part of this evaluation process now, and obviously a Hall of Fame left tackle. I think that the Jaguars could end up with the best offensive line of the four. And so that to me is it's between the Jags and the Texans, I think, as we sit here today. But it's really fascinating, too. They will travel 29,000 miles this season. That is a lot of time in the air.
Yeah, fourth most of any team in the National Football League. But as we discussed on the Duval Rundown podcast this morning, I do think that the NFL did the Jaguars a couple of favors in at least spacing out those West Coast trips. Although I did think there was maybe a world where they would schedule, let's say, Denver and San Francisco back-to-back weeks.
Right.
Maybe the Jaguars opt to stay on the West Coast. I don't know if that's better, especially for a first-year administration and a young team to be faced with that. But the Los Angeles Chargers did it last year with Jim Harbaugh, who, granted, has been a coach in the NFL before. But that was a first-year group, and they were faced with that challenge weeks 2 and 3 of the NFL season. And so I thought that maybe that was a possibility. But ultimately, the Jaguars, outside of the month of November, which it'll be the first weekend and then the last weekend or the second to last weekend, depending what your view of November is, that's the only month that you have to get on a long road trip twice in the same calendar month.
The fun part is there's a Monday night football game here at Everbank Stadium as the Jaguars welcome in the Chiefs. And, of course, lots of people wondering if Taylor Swift will be in attendance. I have no idea, nor do I care. The bigger point is, can Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas Jr., and Travis Hunter be the stars of the night that night? That's to put Jacksonville on the map as far as a team that could be a playoff contender. That October 6th night is massive.
Yeah.
Jaguars don't necessarily have to win, but I think they have to be competitive. They can't get the doors blown off like they did against the Bills up in Buffalo last year.
Correct. And I think there's some revisionist history that the Jaguars' last appearance on Monday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals was this, the Jaguars are bad.
Because Marcus Spears told that tale, and everyone who watched the game was like, actually, Trevor Lawrence was playing really well.
He had his best statistical game of his career,
Yeah.
you could argue.
Unless you want to say just the second half against the Chargers.
Right. Like, you could
total
argue
game,
that
yeah.
was literally, and if Christian Kirk doesn't go down in the biggest omen of this franchise's history,
yeah.
we're talking about a completely different outcome. If they don't call a phantom holding call on Anton Harrison, we're talking about a different outcome. We're talking about the Jaguars being in the postseason 2 years ago and Doug Peterson still potentially being the head coach of this team.
Right. What if Travis Etienne doesn't fumble against the Dolphins to start last year? Is Liam Cohen the head coach here? Is Trent Baalke out? Is James Gladstone in? We could ponder that kind of stuff for a while. But look, I think that we've referenced the back half of the season for people who aren't actually looking at the schedule like we are. To start November at the Raiders, you come then to go at the Texans, then you come home against the Chargers, then at the Cardinals. But this part of it, those weeks 13 through 18 is, I think, where the Jaguars can make hay when the sun shines. At the Titans, home against the Colts, the Jets at home, at the Broncos, that's a tough one, and then at the Colts, the Titans here. If this team is improved in the categories that we've discussed, if the offensive line protects Trevor Lawrence, if they can run the football, if they now have additional pass rushers in addition to Josh Hines, Allen, and Trayvon Walker, if the linebacking core is improved with the decisions that they've made, and especially if that secondary is better, honestly, I feel like the secondary couldn't get worse. If all of that happens and Trevor Lawrence does take the step forward, I can see a world in which they don't lose from weeks 13 on. In theory, you could have a stretch where they win 6 in a row.
We invite you guys to get in on the conversation. 904-641-1010, the number to reach us at on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Give us your thoughts on the Jaguars 2025 schedule, a schedule prediction perhaps, or a record prediction. I'm going to get it right at some point. Record prediction. YouTube also live.
I don't think you're the only one to do it.
YouTube is also live and up and running, so you can also leave a comment there too. Streaming as well on Facebook and X. Let's get to, I love this one. Our good friend in the sales department, Greg Gajewski's kid, has texted in, and he has signed his text as Greg Gajewski's kid.
Gajewski,
yes. So thank you. My New Jersey is not showing. 9-7-1 says young Gajewski.
Okay.
W against the Panthers, a tie in Cincinnati because, quote, Cincinnati ties like every other year. LLL, script says Jags against the Kansas City Chiefs. WWWWLW, avoid a 2017 Gabbert game PTSD. I'm assuming that is against the Arizona Cardinals, and so that is what that is in reference to. And then an L, a WWLLW. Suffice to say, the Jaguars would have their best stretch in this projection, Lauren, in that middle portion of the season, which I find rather fascinating because I am curious to see if the Las Vegas Raiders take a step forward under Pete Carroll in year one. Geno Smith, look, he's not a top 10 quarterback, but he's certainly a top 20, top 25 quarterback when he's performing at his best. The Houston Texans, can they bounce back from the questions from last year? The Arizona Cardinals, are they pretenders or contenders? That's what I think that middle portion of the schedule is certainly not what everyone's talking about. So interesting that the texter says that's where the Jaguars could start putting some pieces together.
Yeah, I mean, I have the Jags beating the Seahawks, the Rams in Wembley, and then obviously there's a bye week, and then at the Raiders, I had the Jags winning there. So that's 3 in a row. And look, I think the Rams game at Wembley Stadium, I'm not going to sit here and say that that's going to determine the outcome of the season. I'm not going to say that. But that game is massive because it's before the bye week. And obviously this team in the past has not always taken the bye week immediately after that trip to London. So I think that that's smart because like you mentioned, it is a first-time head coach, first-time offensive coordinator, first-time defensive coordinator. I think they're going to need to get their footing there at week 8 and take a little breather. But it seems like to me, the Jaguars have a schedule that's set up, if they are improved, to be able to make the playoffs.
We also said that a year ago. We know how that one went.
Yeah.
We've got a Carolina Panther fan, I guess, in St. Augustine, who's now texted in, I think, to every show today to say, careful. Carolina, their defense is head and shoulders better than the Jaguars up to this point. So that one's an interesting comment. I do agree. They've invested heavily. I don't know how soon that defense will gel. I also think that the 2 players that they drafted in the 2nd and 3rd round off the edge, respectively, and Nick Scoreton and Princely and Umami Ellen, look like Scoreton was playing out of position and overweight at A&M, for lack of a better term. And Princely, I mean, you could talk about that, Lauren. Like,
sure.
I mean, he didn't make the jump at Ole Miss to becoming a first-round prospect like he was anticipating that he would by going to play for Lane Kiffin. So I don't really buy the Panthers as more than a 8-9 win team, but also that's where the Jaguars could fall too.
Yeah, the Jaguars as of now are 2.5-point favorites against the Panthers. And by the way, that's Travis Etienne and his brother on the other team, and Trevor Etienne playing for the Panthers.
More than a few of you have also texted in about that matchup. I mean, look, I understand with Jonathan Brooks' injury, that sets up a really nice opportunity for Trevor Etienne to not only make that roster, but to have an immediate impact. Certainly Dave Canales, I think, learned from his time in Tampa that, hey, maybe you do need to run the ball and not be the 31st best rushing offense, and that'll help a young quarterback like Bryce Young.
It's also featuring the Bucs' previous 2 offensive coordinators, Dave Canales, the head coach of the Panthers, and now Liam Cohen, the head coach of the Jaguars.
Proof of concept game for one top Bulls. Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle, currently ahead of Trevor Etienne on the depth chart. They also have Raheem Blackshear in the backfield.
Yeah, I don't believe any depth charts as of now. I always wait until after training camp. But yeah, there's a reason that the Panthers drafted Etienne where they did in the 4th round, because they knew that Jonathan Brooks had that injury, unfortunately, that second ACL. All right, more Jaguars on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Your home for Florida Gators baseball is 1010XL.
After taking 2 out of 3 from top-ranked Texas, the Gators try to roll the Crimson Tide. Florida, Alabama, Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday afternoon on 1010 a.m.
Call 904-500-COOL. Ideal Conditions.
Ideal Conditions Heating and Air Conditioning is your go-to for all AC repairs and replacements. Just gas your AC. For exceptional service, call 904-500-COOL or visit idealconditionsjax.com to schedule your estimate today.
Call 904-500-COOL.
Honk if you see us. Call for service.
Ideal Conditions.
Idealconditionsjax.com.
Jimerson Burr is a full-service, Florida-based commercial law firm dedicated to helping businesses manage risk, maximize opportunities, and move their company forward. Jimerson Burr attorneys are business-oriented lawyers, equally comfortable as community leaders, private transaction counselors, or courtroom advocates. If you have a legal issue of any kind affecting your business, contact the firm at 389-0050 or jimersonfirm.com.
David Garrard here. I've had the PRP treatment from Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, and my knees are really doing well. Platelet-rich plasma treatment may be the answer for whatever is hurting you.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
My son had a meniscus surgery a couple years ago. When it's smooth as silk, Dr. Kevin Murphy did it. Was playing tennis in 2 weeks. This is Patrick Malarkey, and I highly recommend
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Let PGA pros straighten your morning drive with Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser on Brunch with the Tour, Tuesday morning at 8:30 on 1010XL. Teed up by Apex Roofing and Contracting and Clearwater Irrigation. Brunch provided by Chick-fil-A.
Mike Dempsey, and now's the time to get your roof hurricane ready with Apex Roofing and Contracting of Jax Beach. Look, our rainy season is no joke, and if your roof's got damage, leaks, or it's just plain worn out, don't wait. Apex is local, dependable, and will show up on time using only premium materials with ironclad warranties. No shortcuts, no stress, just quality work you can trust. Skip the storm season scramble. Reach for the peak with Apex Roofing and Contracting in Jax Beach or visit apexroofingfl.com.
Attention poker enthusiasts, get ready for unbeatable action at Best Bet with locations in Jacksonville, Orange Park, and St. Augustine. Dive into the excitement with $500 high hands every Friday and $1,000 high hands every Saturday. And save the dates for May's table game giveaways. $300 every 20 minutes on select Fridays and Saturdays. Want in on the action? Visit bestbetjax.com for all the details. That's bestbetjax.com.
Looking for a fun-filled evening the whole family can enjoy? Discover the thrill of indoor football. A fast-paced, action-packed sport where excitement meets family fun. Check out your hometown Sharks this Saturday, May 17th. Kickoff at 7. Ask about family 4-packs, 4 tickets, 4 $10 food vouchers, and a $20 Al's Pizza gift card. All for only $100. Get tickets at jacksharks.com or call 904-621-0700. 904-621-0700.
Prosser here, looking for a fun-filled evening that the whole family can enjoy. Our Jacksonville Sharks are back in town this Saturday. Discover the thrill of indoor football. Fast-paced, action-packed sport where excitement meets family fun. This Saturday, May 17th, kickoff 7 o'clock. Ask about our family 4-packs, 4 tickets, 4 $10 food vouchers, and a $20 Al's Pizza gift card. All for only $100. For ticketing, go to jacksharks.com or call 904-621-0700.
Go Sharks!
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
It's the big reveal.
Wow.
How will the Jags do this season? Listen all day for our team's thoughts on the Jags' potential wins and losses. Revealed by Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. And Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors.
New year, new club. This is Joe C., and I'm proud to be a member of Southampton. And with the popularity of golf, getting a tee time is tough. But with membership comes member privileges. Enjoy clubhouse dining, expanded practice area, focusing on all parts of your game. And right now, you can join with an annual commitment and get a $1,000 discount, plus $500 of Pro Shop credit. All the details are online at golfsouthampton.com or call 287-PLAY and make a tee time today at the Golf Club of Southampton.
If someone you love needs a pick-me-up, then it's time to get serious about it and send them a Kuhn floral arrangement. JJ here with Sensen-XL. You'll be assured of a quality delivery, that's for sure. Log on and order online at kuhnflowers.com.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey, and I only like to recommend the best, which is why I'm proud to say that I chose Pella Windows and Doors for my own home. And now's a great time to upgrade your home with 0% financing for 60 months. That's 5 years of interest-free payments on the best windows and doors in the business. Don't wait. Schedule a free consultation at PellaJax.com or visit their showroom on Phillips Highway just north of Bay Meadows. For quality you can trust and savings you can't miss, that's Pella Windows and Doors.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
When I was young, I Fell in love, we used to hold hands, man, that was enough.
Mia O'Brien, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks. On this Thursday afternoon, Taylor Dahl still on vacation. She'll be back with us next week. A little bit of Jaguars news, Mia, when it comes to the Tom Coughlin J Fun Celebrity Golf Classic auction is live. And just last night, they added a 2025 NFL Draft helmet signed by Travis Hunter. If you want to get in on the auction action, go to tcjfun.org. Not just the Travis Hunter helmet, but there's tons of great memorabilia, including a Super Bowl helmet signed by Nick Sirianni. So for all you Eagles fans out there, VIP experiences, wine, whiskey, golf, and a whole lot more. You can be there for kids tackling childhood cancer. I feel like that Travis Hunter signed helmet is going to go for a lot.
Yeah, bummed that we won't get a chance to be out there Monday because we have the Guggen Open, and so the TCJ Fun golf outing will be Monday. They'll have the VIP champions dinner of sorts with all of the various honorees Sunday night as they traditionally do, but obviously another great event that the J Fun puts on each and every year to raise awareness, raise funds for families tackling childhood cancer. And I love it because, I don't know about you, Lauren, but I get the text updates for both here and for New York, and I've actually had friends who are Giants fans who will text me and be like, so like, does this mean you like come up here too to like cover it or anything? And I'm like, no, but I get all the updates, so we'll be ready to go if anything pops off. But as many of you listeners know, I have been, I don't want to say embargoed. What would the word be? I'm on the no-fly list when it comes to silent auctions, especially with our friends at the TCJ Fund, because once upon a time I had a little too much fun at the wine gala, and I may or may not have been on a amazing, still to this day, favorite vacation of all time, Four Seasons getaway. But yeah, my bank account was hurting for a couple months after that. So.
Yeah, but it goes to a good cause.
Yeah.
So I always recommend for people to go on there, tcjfund.org, and go crazy with your items that
Tax
you're gonna,
write-offs, folks. Tax write-offs.
Go crazy with the items that you're going to bid on. It all goes to the Tom Coughlin J Fund. All right, so a huge question I think that presents itself in looking at the schedule. Again, the Carolina Panthers kick off the season here in Jacksonville, and then the Jaguars travel to the Bengals. Is Travis Hunter going to cover Jamar Chase or T. Higgins in that Bengals game?
On third down, potentially. On third down.
That is going to be a national conversation if that is the case.
Yeah. What I'm intrigued by, and again, this part of the schedule is decided on a week-by-week basis with regards to who the broadcast crew will be. I mean, look, if the Jaguars beat the Panthers week one, there's absolutely a world where, and I believe that game is on CBS, that could be a potential Nance Romo game, I think. And then all of a sudden, all eyeballs are on Travis Hunter and on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you have an opportunity to make a statement of sorts. I still believe, though, Lauren, that independent of the primetime or not schedule, this is going to be a process to integrate him onto the defensive side of the ball. This organization seems steadfast, and while, yes, he could prove them wrong and show, hey, maybe he can play a couple more snaps than they previously anticipated on the defensive side of the ball in a single game comparatively to where perhaps they were the trajectory suggested he would be. I do believe that there will be some restraint used because this is a long-term play to get Travis Hunter to the level of playing on both sides of the ball consistently year in and year out.
Yeah, and even if, let's say for the first month, he's primarily on offense and takes a few snaps on defense, that's also okay. They don't have to rush him into this process. I do think that it's important for him not to be completely overwhelmed with both playbooks. However, obviously, Travis has told us the defense comes a little bit more naturally than the offense does. And so it is exciting to think that you can have him, like you said, in key situations, red zone, third down, and have him make a play to win a game against a team like the Bengals. My goodness, if you want to propel the Jaguars to be the forefront and way more relevant than they've been in a long time, well, at least since 2022 and this first half of 2023, you get Travis Hunter to get, it doesn't even have to be an interception, a pass breakup from a pass going from Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase. You get Travis Hunter to break that up. There's going to be maybe more primetime games in the future.
I'm somehow looking more forward to the offensive versus offense matchup. I know that doesn't make sense when I say it out loud on radio, but hear me out. This proof of concept, the idea of the meme that has been so widely shared of the Cincinnati Bengals making the decision to forego drafting Penei Sewell in favor of reuniting Jamar Chase with Joe Burrow. And screw it, he's generational talent. He's down there somewhere. Doubling down on that notion by paying both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, while Trey Hendrickson withers in the wind, and the defense, which they've spent premium capital in each of the last 4 drafts on, remains an unknown and a big question mark for Cincinnati. And so you've got 2 alpha receivers on the Cincinnati side. And while I don't expect Travis Hunter to be performing at a all-pro level week 2, we obviously would all love for that to be the case. And you've got Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter on the other side. And so that's where, while I don't think the Jaguars have neglected the trenches to the extent the Cincinnati Bengals have during Joe Burrow's 5+ year career, I do think it's a fascinating proof of concept game in that you will be seeing 2 teams with elite alpha wide receivers that maybe they went the wide receiver route as opposed to other positions in the NFL draft.
Yeah, in week 3, the Texans come to Jacksonville. You think the storyline's going to be Azeez Al-Shaair and that late hit on Trevor Lawrence, or what?
I am already looking into my crystal ball, and I can see Trevor Lawrence standing at the podium at the Miller Electric Center on Wednesday, September the 18th, and saying, hey, it's okay. I've forgiven him. We've moved on. We're here to win a football game. And I believe that will be the conversation that is projected from the Jaguars. We are here to do our job. We are here to win a football game. Last year is last year. Now, once you get onto the field, do tempers maybe flare a little bit? Yes, but you want to see tempers maybe flaring in a good way each and every week. You want to see a little bit of fight from this team, regardless of who the opponent is. Maybe there's a little extra incentive, but I'm sure and again, I'm looking into the crystal ball, and I'm telling you, Doug Peterson gave it to me on his way out the door, Lauren, in case you missed it. And now it works. It works just like it did in 2022. Liam Cohen would also argue that half of this roster is different than the roster that was on the field when Al-Shaair laid the nasty hit on Trevor Lawrence in December.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's going to be the message from Trevor, even if he wants to ignore answering the question. He may just look at the reporter, whoever asks, and you have to ask the question, but he may just say, next question. Like, I'm not discussing that at this point in time. I've already said my piece on it because he's already said, he has moved on and things like that. But it's certainly going to be a talking point for the broadcast crew that weekend, which is, again, CBS. The 49ers game in San Francisco is, I think, fascinating from all angles. You've got, for the here and now, Brock Purdy hasn't been paid yet. He was, of course, Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft, but he's probably going to get a big contract before that game. They parted ways, the 49ers did, with 17 free agents. And yet I still feel like the 49ers are such a good football team that they hold the advantage of the Jaguars traveling all the way to California.
Well, they're well coached, so that's the good news. But at the same time, is Brandon Ayuk still on that team? Week 4? I don't know if he is. I know they paid him last year. I also know that, correct me if I'm wrong, pretty openly known that they've been shopping him in addition to trading Deebo Samuel to the Washington Commanders. And so
McCaffrey's still there, though.
Yeah, but is he going to be healthy?
I mean, I would imagine so at this point in time.
We would have thought a year ago he was healthy, and all of a sudden there's some smoke and mirrors of how healthy is he actually, and then he doesn't end up playing down the home stretch of the season.
Well, they have George Kittle, put it that way.
They do have George Kittle. And they have Luke Farrell, who has a great family, and so that certainly helps. They'll run a lot of 12 and 13 personnel, which is great to hear. They have an offensive line that's going to be trying out a lot of new parts and banking on development. And while, yes, that's one of the better offensive line coaching staffs in the National Football League out there in the Bay Area, and you still have Trent Williams, at what point in time does he fall off a cliff? Because it's going to happen at some point. It comes for everybody. Just ask Tom Brady. Ben Bartch is currently the starting left guard. Wouldn't that be a funny revenge game of sorts? Jake Brendel,
I always liked
the
Ben
center.
Bartch. Just
I do
the
too.
Injury really messed him up.
Ben's my friend, and I root for Ben. But at the same time, this is a guy who it took a while to come back, and he's now had a year plus, as a matter of fact, of sitting in the wings in San Francisco. They're banking on his development. They're banking on Dominic Puni out of Kansas, the second-year pro. They're banking on him taking another step forward. That's an offensive line that isn't the known commodity that it necessarily used to be, and I know that there will be the counterpart of, well, they've always just been Trent Williams and a bunch of guys that they found on the street, and they were able to restore their career, and then they get a big payday somewhere else. You're not wrong, but it's once again a gamble to go in and say, all right, well, this guy's got to develop, that guy's got to develop. Every year's a gamble, I suppose. But it's not, point is, this is not the San Francisco 49ers team of 2019 or even 2023.
But I do think that game in particular is going to be a massive test for the Jaguars offensive line. Like, by week 4, we will know if the improvements that they believe they've made have actually come to fruition.
Well, I believe Robert Saleh is trying to catch lightning in a bottle once again, rekindle the intensity, the tenacity that his defense has played with before he left to become the head coach of the New York Jets. He doesn't have the same resources, Lauren, that he once did. They intentionally drafted defensive line back to back to back to start this year's NFL draft with their first 3 picks because they recognize that the cupboard is more bare than it's ever been in San Francisco. And so, yes, you still have Nick Bosa. But after that, Mykel Williams, first-round pick.
Yeah, really good out of Georgia.
C.J. West, Indiana. Alfred Collins out of Texas. These are rookies, though. You're banking
Everybody
on them
loves
stepping
Alfred
in.
Collins, though.
Yetur Gross-Matos, previously with the Carolina Panthers, another reclamation project for Robert Saleh. Again, and look, they don't have to have flashy names to have an impact. They have to play as one, all 11 together. But again, I just don't want this notion of, oh, it's the Niners. Of course, their defensive line is great to be prevailing here. When the reality is they know they have work to do to bring these young players along because there's nothing else there in the cupboard besides them.
Well, we will get to see, I would imagine, Jordan Lewis covering Ricky Pearsall in that game.
Yes,
as far as
that we would.
Jaguars at the 49ers. That should be interesting.
Ricky back home again in Florida. I know he's not from here, but we're going to say he is.
But that one's in California.
Oh, right. My bad.
All right, let's continue the schedule conversation on the other side, continue to make our record predictions. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010X on 92.5 FM.
Now, a PGA Championship update on 1010XL. Teed up by St. John's Middle School Athletic Association and TopDressing.com.
Westwood One Sports presents this special report on the 107th PGA Championship, brought to you by Fisher Investments. Justin Thomas might just be back and just in time for the second major of the year. At Hilton Head the week after the Masters, JT picked up his first win in 3 years. Go back to the 2022 PGA. Now, Thomas has won or been the runner-up in 3 of his last 4 starts.
We all want to win, and I'm no different. I just think sometimes you're in a better headspace than others to try and capitalize or to give yourself a chance, and I feel like that's kind of how it's been the last couple events.
Thomas won the PGA Championship the last time it was at Quail Hollow 8 years ago. He tees off next hour. Ryan Fox is the clubhouse leader with a 4 under 67. Could have been a 66 if not for a bogey at the last. Also at 4 under right now, Luke Donald, Alex Smalley, JT Poston, and Steven Yeager. Rough start for Masters champion Rory McIlroy, 2 over through 12. I'm Ted Emmerich, Westwood One Sports.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our client's portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more. And then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Are you ready to step up to luxury?
Check out the power of our exciting 2025 lineup, including the Lyric, IQ, Optique, and the stunning Visti.
With over 15 electric Cadillacs in stock and more on the way, it's the perfect time to trade in your Tesla and embrace luxury with a twist.
At Randy Marion, there are no tariffs. Visit Randy Marion Cadillac on Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville, and see why our electric lineup turns heads.
Don't miss out. Drive Cadillac, electric or gas. We have both. Plus tax tag title $9.99 admin fee and resistol on approved credit.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
The ultimate Pink Floyd experience is back. Brit Floyd returns, celebrating the 50th anniversary of Pink Floyd's legendary Wish You Were Here album. It's Brit Floyd, May 20th at Florida Theater. Tickets on sale now at floridatheater.com.
Cool Cats Heating and Cooling, the coolest cats in town. Setting the standard in our hometown. Quality service, the best around. Coolidge is the cat that cares about your heating and about your air. Cool Cats Heating and Cooling, the coolest cats in town.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On May 15, 1941, Joe DiMaggio of the New York Yankees began his record-breaking 56-game hitting streak, singling off White Sox pitcher Eddie Smith.
Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality products and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
We're certainly facing interesting economic times. For me, it's comforting to know my money's in good hands with ITP Partners. Jacksonville guys taking care of my Jacksonville money. Experience? Yeah, that's Chris Bryan, Jeff Hartman, Reagan Wright, Dan Abel, Scott Regner, Janice Cobb, and Reed Wingate. They have the expertise and knowledge to take care of your money. For more info, go to itppartners.com. ITP Partners, they're my financial partners for life.
Non-compensated client testimonial may not be representative of all client experiences. No guarantee of future performance or success.
This Saturday, Navy Mutual would like to salute all men and women that serve in our armed forces. In 1949, President Truman designated the third Saturday in May as Armed Forces Day due to the unification of all 5 branches of our military into the Department of Defense.
Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org.
Okay, sports fans, Hicken here. Let's talk skin. I and Beaches Dermatology are reminding you all to wear your sunscreen. Spring is here, and that means more time outside. Grabbing the clubs for your tea time? Bring the screen. Heading out on the boat? Bring the screen. Headed to the beach? Definitely bring the sunscreen. All in all, make sure sunscreen is included in your outdoor activities. If you have any concerns now, give Beaches Dermatology a call. I've been seeing them for years, and my skin thanks me for it. Call today online at beachesdermatology.com.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwoods. Clayton, when a customer goes to buy a diamond, how do they know what they are getting?
Frank, that's a good question because what they know comes from the assurances given by the seller, and they can only judge based on the knowledge and reputation of the selling store. Now, over the last 25 years, I've seen some customers misled, and unfortunately, Underwoods was the bearer of bad news too many times. In the 1980s, we saw diamonds brought in with exaggerated grades and no laboratory grading reports. Then in the 90s, we saw some of the poorest cut diamonds ever, even though they had laboratory reports on weight, color, and clarity. Then the American Gem Society opened a laboratory and started grading diamonds for cut, and poorly cut diamonds got priced for what they were. Now we see diamonds from the internet and other places where diamonds are bought sight unseen with a lab report and a bogus appraisal. Unfortunately, not all those diamonds match the reports they're sold with, but how would a customer know? Probably today more than ever, the truest statement is, if you don't know diamonds, you better know a jeweler you can trust.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Leo, Brian, RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. Taylor Dahl on vacation. She'll rejoin us next week. Mia, we found out yesterday that the decision as to whether the Jaguars will play in Orlando or in Gainesville was originally supposed to be decided this month by the NFL owners, but it has now been pushed back to October. The Jacksonville Business Journal emailed that out and tweeted that out yesterday, which I find interesting. I'm not quite sure why the owners are pushing it back as far as the decision, but maybe
unless the decision has already been made, and so they're all just like, well, there's only really one option on the table, so we're just going to chill here and wait for the official vote.
Or maybe both Ben Hill Griffin and Camping World brought new stuff to the table. I don't know what would delay it, unless the NFL owners are also like, this is not our priority where Jacksonville plays for the 2027 season, so we're just going to take our sweet time.
And they're like, whatever, we've got a little bit of time. We know for a fact that, hey,
they have an option.
The Jaguars have a new 30-year lease that they've agreed upon. We know it's happening. We know that there is more than just a shovel in the ground. We will deal with it down the line. Again, in case you missed it, late December, Camping World Stadium and the city of Orlando did approve a $400 million renovation expansion. Maybe they want to wait out a couple months to see how quickly that's coming along before they commit to it. Maybe that's part of it.
Sure,
but yeah,
possible.
I don't have any intel outside of Doc connecting with regards to the city of Orlando approving those renovations and that pointing to, hey, are they preparing to host an NFL team, if only for 1 year?
Yeah, when I tweeted out the information that I saw, like I said, from the Jacksonville Business Journal, I got so many people saying which city they prefer, and it was pretty much split. Gainesville and Orlando were literally split as far as that's concerned. All right, back to the schedule. Like we briefly mentioned earlier, the Kansas City Chiefs come to town for Monday Night Football on October 6th. This, to me, is a game that Andy Reid and company, probably when they look at their schedule, probably don't think that they have to even try to win.
No, I think it's the opposite of that.
Really?
Yep, I do. Talk to enough people, not only within the Chiefs organization, but for those who have hosted the Chiefs before, both here and elsewhere. And they said it doesn't matter who it is. They are as maniacal as they come. If the locker room isn't perfectly set up in the exact way, if they don't have the right preparation for the opponent and the right video equipment and the right, this camera is here and they have this angle and this, and not that they're not cordial, not that they're not gracious visitors to these various other locales, but this idea of we don't care who we're playing. We have a system and we intend to win because of that system. And it's admirable. It's something I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are striving for.
The Chiefs start the season at the Chargers. Then they play host to the Eagles. Then they're at the Giants. That's somewhat easy, I would say. And then the Chiefs play host to the Ravens the week before they come to Jacksonville. So to me, I'm not saying that Chiefs fans feel like this, but I would imagine when they look at their schedule, they're like, all right, we have to start off with a win against the Chargers, and we'd love to beat the Eagles. We're not going to even worry about the Giants and Jaguars because we have to also beat the Ravens. I mean, those are some significant games.
Yeah, and so maybe this is more of like I wouldn't say they're like taking their foot off the gas. I would more so say they're actually like taking a second to breathe. But then again, they got to come down to Duval, and it's still going to be warm on Trevor Lawrence's birthday, October the 5th. So they know what happened when they came here in the heat of the September heat in September of 2023. And yes, they won that game. They won in September of 2019. But make no mistake, I mean, Kelsey and Mahomes have been very vocal about like that you had to physically prepare to play in those elements. This will be a night game, so maybe it's a little bit of a, okay, we've got
from the heat.
We've got a little bit of a reprieve from the heat, but they will feel the heat. I just think maybe if you're Jacksonville, you say, okay, they've now played the Eagles and the Ravens in the last 3 weeks, and those are two big matchups to potentially, set the stage for what the AFC Championship or Super Bowl could look like, and maybe you catch them sleeping, but I just don't believe that they ever sleep.
It will be Juwan Taylor's first return to Everbank
outside
Stadium,
of the preseason last year.
Right, yeah, but for a regular season. I do think the Jaguars have the best receivers between the Chiefs and the hometown team. Worthy's fast, sure. Rice, who knows what's going to be happening with him, and Hollywood Brown, who we did see get injured, unfortunately. His clavicle broke in that preseason game, but between Brian Thomas Jr., De'Ami Brown, Travis Hunter, Parker Washington, I think the Jaguars have better receivers. Now, one would then say, well, Lauren, who is the better quarterback, Patrick Mahomes or Trevor Lawrence? And yeah, you're going to give the nod to the Super Bowl winner ×3. All right, then we go the Seahawks here in Jacksonville. I don't think Sam Darnold's that good of a quarterback, and I also think without DK Metcalf, that Seattle team is not what it once was.
I know there's plenty of Jaguar fans out there who, from the last time Seattle paid a visit to Everbank Stadium and some tempers that flared between fans and players who are no longer on Seattle's roster. I don't think that the fans will accept anything less than a W over Seattle, who will have to make the cross-country trip here, just like the Jaguars are having to go to the West Coast multiple times this season. I just come back to this. Imagine whether no, it's all right, RJ. RJ, I'm not gonna. It's all right. I saw RJ like lunge forward. It's okay. Imagine this though. If the Jaguars, whether they win or lose, but they hang with the Chiefs, this would be a classic letdown game, one way or another. And that's how I see this one.
If the Jaguars beat the Chiefs, then I think it's less important for the fans to beat the Seahawks because they're going to be riding high off of a Monday night victory, leaving the stadium somewhere in the ballpark of 1 a.m., having beat the Chiefs. I just don't want that to be similar or akin to when the Jaguars beat the Patriots back in 2018 after the Jaguars had lost to the Patriots in the AFC Championship in 2017. That was early in the season than this. But Jags fans lost their minds because they finally got revenge against Tom Brady. And then the rest of the season did not go according to plan.
Thank you, 864, for the fact check. Juwan Taylor was on the Chiefs in 2023 when they came back in that Week 2 matchup.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he has been here since leaving the Jaguars to go to the Chiefs. I feel like after all the losses that we've had, all the losing seasons, I try to put some of these seasons in the past.
Or just they all mold together.
They do all meld together. All right. And then Rams and Wembley. This one is probably the most intriguing as far as all of the different personnel is concerned. Obviously, Matthew Stafford got the extension, and you've got some really talented receivers there. I don't know who has the better roster as we sit here today.
Yeah. So, and I said this when we were recording our official predictions, like, I've been predicting the Rams' demise for quite some time now, and it's nothing against Sean McVay, Les Snead, Matthew Stafford. It just comes down to Matthew Stafford is getting up there in years, and he continues to defy any ceiling that you place on him. This is a roster that, under the direction of none other than one James Gladstone as the director of scouting strategy, had 45 veterans and 45 rookies 2 years ago. And so at this point in time, I doubt the Rams at your own peril. This is going to be a long road trip for them. A lot will be made throughout the offseason, certainly that week. But ultimately, this is a team that, much like the Chiefs, it doesn't matter where they have to play. They have created a championship DNA, and they have a system in place that, well, yes, they have to bring some newcomers into the fold and teach them their ways. They have it down to a science. It doesn't matter how far they have to travel, in my estimation.
Do you think that James Gladstone, with obviously the intel of the roster that he has, do you think that's a slight advantage in addition to the fact that the Jaguars are so accustomed to Wembley?
I do think that the combination could potentially be, but also I just look at that defensive front that they have. And I look at the investments they've made. Not that the Jaguars have not made investments along their defensive front. And look, Mason Smith, Jordan Jefferson could all take a next step, much like Kobe Turner, much like Byron Young. Like, there's absolutely potential for that. But I just look at the waves of pass rushers that they have. I just look at the consistency year over year, regardless of who the names are in the back end. I look at Kyron Williams poised for a big payday as well. And I just can't help but come away from they have a system and they're going to execute well. And while, yes, James Gladstone has an inside look at and a unique perspective of that roster, I don't know how much can really be conveyed and how much you can prepare for once you get in between the lines of a football field and you're calling plays against Sean McVay.
Who is the Jaguars' starting running back when the Jaguars take on the Rams in Wembley Stadium?
Great question. I still have it as Travis Etienne.
Okay.
I personally think they're going to hold on to Travis Etienne. And that's no intel. That's just my gut feeling of they know they have to run the ball and they need as many horses for the courses as they possibly can.
I would not be surprised if the answer is Travis Etienne. I wouldn't be surprised if the answer is Tank Bigsby. And I wouldn't be surprised if the answer is Bashal Tutin. I think, obviously, we'll learn a lot once training camp gets underway and we see the rotation that they have. And as far as who's taking first team snaps, second and third, even if we don't report it, we'll at least be able to see it. I think that position group, I think it's strong. And I think because of that, each guy brings something different to the table. We could end up seeing, and it's not going to happen exactly like this, but in theory, we could end up seeing a different running back almost every game start, right? Like the Okay, ETN, you get one. Bixby,
Yeah.
you get one. Tootin, you get the third game, and then back to, again, it's not exactly going to happen like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if each game you see a little bit of a different starter
I think
at that position.
better question than who's starting
Who
is
get more carries?
Yeah, who's going to be the lead tailback? That's the better question for me.
Yeah, when I say starter, I mean like who's going to be the featured back in some of these games. And
I think that's going to be weighed out as the game
It will
goes.
change.
They're going to go with whoever the hot hand is. They're gonna have a rotation, and whoever emerges each Sunday, then they'll just keep feeding that guy the ball.
We shall see, and certainly LaKent Allen in that room as well. He'll, I think, catch a lot of balls out of the backfield. I don't know that he'll necessarily be the featured back when we get to that, but we shall see. All right, so we've gotten through the first half of the schedule for the most part. We are at the bye week. So when we get back, we will chat Las Vegas Raiders. That game, of course, on the road in Vegas. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Now, a PGA Championship update on 1010XL. Teed up by St. John's Middle School Athletic Association and TopDressing.com.
Westwood One Sports presents this special report on the 107th PGA Championship. An upside-down start to the year's second major. Big names scuffling, relative unknowns thriving so far at Quail Hollow. Rory McIlroy has hit only 2 fairways today. He's fresh off completing the career Grand Slam, but Rory is 2 over with 3 holes to play in the first round. That's 7 shots behind the leader, Steven Jaeger from Germany, who is 5 under through 15. In the clubhouse at 4 under, 1 back, Luke Donald, Ryan Fox, and Alex Smalley. You would be forgiven if you had forgotten Luke Donald still plays competitively. 47 years old, now the European Ryder Cup captain. Donald's 4 under 67, his first bogey-free round at a major in a decade. This report sponsored by Sleep Number. Sleep better with a Sleep Number. All smart beds and bases now on sale exclusively at a Sleep Number store. I'm Ted Umrick, Westwood One Sports.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the Sleep Number Everything Smart Bed sale. Every smart bed and base are on sale during our Memorial Day event. Up to 50% off, plus free home delivery. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It's back. What's back? Mia here. I'm glad you asked. The Summer Starts Here sales event. That's what. It's back, and it's packed with hot summer savings going on now at Arlington Toyota. Why buy from Arlington? Because Arlington is the place to go for big selection during the Summer Starts Here sales event. Like over 800 vehicles in one location. I told you it was big. Camrys, Corollas, RAV4s, Tacomas, Tundras, even the all-electric B74X. Shop it all at Arlington and save today. No one does buying confidence like Arlington with their 60-day exchange. That means you buy it, take it home, basically test drive it for 60 days, and then if you decide it's not right for you, bring it back and exchange it. You even get Arlington's lifetime warranty with your new Toyota purchase. Why buy from Arlington? Because during the Summer Starts Here sales event, you can finance as low as 0% on select new models. 0%. Shop Summer Starts Here at Arlington Toyota. In person on Atlantic Boulevard, just a quarter mile east of 295, or arlingtontoyota.com.
Summer in Jacksonville. Sun's out, flip-flops on, and whoa! Well, there goes Uncle Bob into the pool again. Protect your pool deck with Don't Slip Deck Coatings of Jacksonville. Their multi-layered slip-resistant coatings keep you on your feet, not on your backside. Durable, stylish, and way cheaper than an ER visit. Don't Slip Deck Coatings even has indoor options so your kitchen floor isn't a skating rink. Call 904-466-1839 for a free quote and follow Don't Slip Jacks on Facebook and Instagram.
Get this. Joey and me were supposed to go to this concert next week, right? But then something terrible happened. Joey was driving without a seatbelt. But he didn't wreck. No, he got pulled over. Now Joey has to pay for a seatbelt ticket instead of a concert ticket, and I have to go by myself. How lame is that? So Joey, if you're out there, you're an idiot. Wear your seatbelt or you'll get a ticket.
All across the country, cops are cracking down. Click it or ticket.
day and night.
Funded by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
Hey Jacksonville, Lauren Brooks here for Big Chief Tire. If you need new tires, Big Chief has affordable options to fit every budget and every vehicle. Their team of experts will help you find the right tires and make sure they're installed quickly so you can get back on the road. Don't wait. Visit WeKeepJacksRollin.com or call 904-932-0950 to schedule your appointment and explore their great tire deals. Big Chief Tire keeps Jacks rolling.
Since 1901, generations of skilled union workers have built the backbone of our community. Hospitals, schools, the buildings where you work. Every year, a new apprentice class of Local 234, plumbers, pipe fitters, and HVAC technicians is stepping up, trained, driven, and ready to do great things. They're not just building our city, they're building their future. Local 234, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit UA234.com to become a member or contractor today.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? If you have questions, call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700. Office is Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville. You're on-road, you're off-road, now you're on the water. Greg, tell everybody what Coach and Honda is offering in the form of boats.
We've got the Honda boat, which is a great runabout fisherman. We've got the Coach boats. They're fantastic for getting out with a family. Nice lay-down beds, all with that legendary Honda motor on them.
Check them all out. They're waiting for you. You can see how you can be on the water with Honda or with Coach pontoon boats. Cycles of Jacksonville on Atlantic near Regency.
Are your kids ready to play this summer? Come check out the Y. Summer is a time for kids to explore new things and expand the limits of their imagination. At the Y, summer camps every day is a new adventure. Kids can learn about STEM, arts and humanities, athletic sports, outdoor games, and more. Registration is now open, but space is limited and spots are filling up quickly. Learn more and find your adventure at fcymca.org. Search Summer Day Camp.
Pickett here with my concierge doctor, Richard Townsend. Doc T, how does a concierge direct primary care operate?
We are a membership-based primary care made directly between a patient and physician. We'll have a limited amount of patients that allows us to give unlimited access and personal service to you. This individualized approach has been shown to lower hospitalizations as well as maintain healthier lives. We also give 24/7 access via phone to me outside of our scheduled office hours.
To learn more, go to mypvconcierge.com.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
I'm Max Fink with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update brought to you by Lone Pronto. The Florida Gators baseball team will wrap up their regular season in Gainesville this weekend with a series against the 18th-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. The Gators, who slid into the top 25 rankings thanks to their series victory over the top-ranked Texas Longhorns last weekend, have now won 5 straight SEC series, looking to make that 6 in a row this weekend, which would give them a 500 record in conference play on the season, as well as giving them an opportunity to host a series in the SEC tournament, with Game 1 tonight at 6:30, airing on 10:10 a.m. The Florida State Seminoles have a chance to win the ACC regular season title with a series win over North Carolina this weekend. The second-ranked Seminoles and fourth-ranked Tar Heels will begin their series tonight at 7 o'clock at Hauser Stadium. It's 88 degrees at 12:58. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
schedules for all 32 teams last night at 8 o'clock. I have a feeling, Mia, that several people knew about certain games in advance because of all those schedule leaks, but the NFL officially released it at 8 p.m., and so we are making our way through the Jaguars schedule. We've made it to the bye week, and now we are rejuvenated, refreshed, relaxed, because we've enjoyed a whole week off, and now we're back at it as the Jaguars travel to the Raiders, and this game, to me, is one of the I think it's a start to the easier stretch on that back half.
Or it's the ultimate trap game.
And it certainly could be that. Look, Ashton Genty, you know my thoughts on him. I think he's going to be a really good running back in the NFL. I love Jack Besh, as we've discussed. I think a guy that has played with some really talented receivers, including Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors, and then certainly went to TCU. Brock Bowers is incredibly difficult to defend. But something tells me that the Jaguars are going to feel a little revenge, and get a little revenge, I should say, from last year's loss in Vegas.
I go the other way with it. I think that this is not even about the Raiders. This is about how the Jaguars handle the bye week. And that depends on either, whether you win or lose against the Rams. How do you handle coming out of either disappointment or, hey, we're good. Look at us. We're coming off the bye. We're ready to go with the second half of the season. Oh, the second half of the season is easier. And so that's why I think this is much more about the Jaguars than it is whatever Las Vegas trots out there.
You think Ashton Hall can give the Jaguars some tips on handling their bye week? For people who don't know, he was the person that was in the Jaguars schedule release video. He's an influencer, and he went viral for his 4 a.m. morning routine, which, by the way, his morning routine lasts like 4 hours. My morning routine is like 2 hours at most.
Raiders will also be coming off of a bye, having faced the Kansas City Chiefs on October the 19th. And then prior to that, we'll have faced both the Colts and the Titans in consecutive weeks. And so certainly a heavy hitter for them as well before they have their bye week. They will have the virtue of being the home team coming off said bye week. And so, again, another young team with a first-year head coach, albeit the eldest head coach in NFL history, in Pete Carroll. And how do they respond from a week off? Not to mention, is Geno Smith undoubtedly the quarterback for this team? I think he has to be because you look at the rest of that room. But, where is this Raiders team in their development? I think when I look at the schedule, Lauren, and this idea of what will 2025 bring, and we've seen a bunch of you guys on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures and YouTube who have said, you say 11-6 every year and they go 6-11. I'm okay if they go 6-11, if they're competitive in all 17 games. And you want to know why? I said this on BetMGM last night. First year of Doug Marrone, 10-win season. Jaguars make the playoffs. Only time they made the playoffs under Doug Marrone. Doug Peterson, magical 9-8 run, opening year of his tenure. Jaguars make the postseason. Only time they made the postseason under Doug Peterson. This needs to be sustainable. I'm not looking to catch lightning in a bottle if I'm a Jaguar fan. I want to be competitive in every single game, not by virtue of the AFC South being a stinky division and the reality of, hey, maybe we had the ball bounce our way a couple of times down the home stretch of the season and then resting on those laurels of saying, okay, we're there, we're competitive, when in reality, this needs to be a build much like what Brad Holmes, someone who James Gladstone worked side by side with extensively during their time with both the St. Louis and the Los Angeles Rams, what they were able to do up in Detroit. And that's what I need to see from this team. And that's why a loss to the Raiders, a loss to, the Colts, if you may, like getting the doors blown off you, that's what you don't want to see. You want to see this team controlling what it can control and at the very least being as competitive as this roster currently allows.
Some would argue that the Jaguars were competitive in 7 games last year that they lost with those one-score games. Certainly they did have the doors blown off of them in other games, albeit the Bills and even the Bears in London. I would not be satisfied with 6 wins because, like you mentioned, the division. The teams that are in your division have some of the worst or easiest schedules because they were some of the worst teams in all of the NFL last year. You should be ahead of that. Trevor Lawrence is in year 5. Cam Ward for the Titans is going to be a rookie. Anthony Richardson still doesn't look like he's an NFL franchise quarterback by any means, and I think Daniel Jones is worse than AR. So because of those things, if you only win 6 games, I think you're even farther from getting to the playoffs in the next year.
What if you're 4-2, though, in the division? Or 5-1.
Yeah, then you're horrendous against teams like the Jets and the
Jets got a top 10 defense,
Raiders,
man. If Aaron Glenn can recreate
and
some
the
magic.
Panthers, like that means that you're only winning 2 more of those games. I mean, look, I understand fans who say we're too optimistic when we break it down. I totally understand, and I agree with that. I'm always a glass half full person. And I love the weapons that this Jaguars offense has now. So that, to me, has shifted it, and I do think the offensive line has improved. But if it's only a 6-win season, that's only a 2-game improvement. If Trevor Lawrence plays in all 17 games, if he's healthy for all games and you only win 6 games, then I think there are some massive questions about the quarterback. And for some people, they already have those massive questions.
Well, what if he ranks in the top 10 of quarterback measurements?
And you only win 6 games?
Yeah.
Ooh, what has gone drastically wrong then? Because that means your defense, I guess, is one of the worst that we've ever seen, like the Bengals was last year. Because if Trevor's in the top 10, like Joe Burrow was, and you've got the 2 talented receivers plus a run game, your defense can't stop anyone.
So you won't accept anything less than how many wins?
I would say they need to get to 8 for me to believe that the entire new regime is headed in the right direction. And if they don't, and
how
things
many times
look
has
great,
this team gotten to 8 wins in the last 15 years?
Well, 2017, 2022, 2023. I mean, that's 3 in the last 5. Or the last, not
which
5.
Which is a vote
8.
of confidence to the quarterback and many of the pieces that remain.
Yeah, I refuse to believe that this is the same old Jags, is I guess the biggest point to me. Because of the involvement now with Tony Baselli as the EVP. He knows where the bones are buried, right? Or the bodies are buried. He knows where the skeletons in the closet are from this organization. I believe just with his influence, he's going to turn a lot of it around. And then you have a guy who's actually a really good play caller in Liam Cohen. And I think that's where this stretch of at the Texans, home against the Chargers, at the Cardinals, that's a tough stretch, but that's going to test Liam Cohen's mettle. And I think James Gladstone, it may not come to fruition in the first year, but I think his talent evaluation is tremendously better than what we've had. And I think his financial decisions will all be better for the most part than what Trent Baalke did as well. And so, yes, it may take a few years to really see all of these different pieces come together. But if Trevor Lawrence is a top 10 quarterback, then you are absolutely winning at least 8 games in the NFL.
Good point. Okay. Case settled. There you go, folks. 8 wins. That's 7.5 from Vegas. Take the over, and the 8 is the floor.
All right, so the final stretch that I predict is somewhat easy, and the Jaguars rattle off a lot of wins at the Titans because I still think that organization is a mess. Then home against, by the way, also Will Levis could be playing by that point in time. We have no idea. Home against the Colts. When was the last time the Colts won here? 2014, I believe,
yes.
or even before that?
Yeah, because technically they played them in London one of those years.
Right. So it's been over 10 years. The Jets, yes, have a good defense, but I don't have that much faith in the Jets this year. At the Broncos, that is a tough game. We all know the travel. And then home against the Colts, at the Colts, and then home against the Titans to finish the season. I have been wrong about this division before as far as how the Jaguars would do against it. I think I had the Jaguars sweeping the entire division a couple of years ago. So again, I've been wrong. But as I see it, I don't see how teams are going to stop the offense that I think can be a top 10 offense.
Social on the YouTube chat says I'm being disrespectful now. Look, I'm just trying to dose a little reality or at least try to damper the excitement here. But Lauren brings up a good point. If you believe Trevor Lawrence is a top 10 quarterback, then you shouldn't settle for less than 8 wins.
I'm putting my foot down, all right? We've had enough losing in this town. We need to get back on track. And look, you can't convince me that the Jaguars are worse than Justin Fields and the Jets with the mess that they were last year. They also are coming out of a malaise that the Jaguars have done. And so if you believe the organization is headed in the right direction, then by golly, there's a reason that these guys were hired.
I'm so low on the Colts and Titans that's where I just come back to. If the Jaguars are to catch fire in the second half of the season, getting to play both of those teams in the final 6 weeks of the season is massive. That's the other linchpin besides the Houston Texans week 3 and that really being a defining game, whether you're 1-1, 2-0, or 0-2 heading into that week, truly making a statement in that game, not just because of what happened the last time those two teams were on a field together, but simply because that has been your rival, if only for the last 2 years, in trying to win this division. That's where I look at that as a linchpin, and then I look at the opportunity ahead to face those two teams that you have dominated. It should be noted, you've dominated them for the better part of the last 2-3 years. What can you do against them, and can that set you up for success either in the postseason or long term?
NFL.com put out top 10 primetime games for the 2025 season. I understand the Jaguars have a primetime game, but I didn't expect to see them on this list just because people are always hating against Jacksonville. But they are in the top 10 with the Chiefs at the Jaguars Monday, October 6th. I think that's good news. I think there's a little juice here as far as, the drafting of Travis Hunter. I think not just him alone, but he certainly is going to be a guy that's going to be one of the faces of the franchise, if not the face of the franchise.
Well, I'm excited to speak with our friend Jordan Rodrigue on the other side because Jordan, in addition to the great work she does covering the Rams for The Athletic, also co-hosts NFL Daily with Greg Rosenthal. And Greg tweeted out earlier today, and I thought this was so spot on, this idea of everyone who's like, oh my God, the Jaguars only have one primetime game. What does that say about how the league feels about Trevor Lawrence? And Greg quote tweeted it, and he was like, look, right now, Trevor Lawrence is not the flavor of the month. They're not getting primetime games because of him. What it does say is the league is greatly underestimating the value of having Travis Hunter on a national broadcast and what that does. Hell, we were talking about it in the multimedia department group chat, Lauren, just this notion of anything that you put out that has Travis Hunter or Colorado, since there are several other former Colorado Buffaloes who signed with the Jaguars as undrafted free agent rookies. Like, you post anything with those guys and someone in Buffs Nation is going to find it and you're going to get traction on social. And I think the same can be said universally when it comes to Travis Hunter, because how many young people under the age of 20 know him, not just because of his prowess on the football field, but because what he does on Twitch streaming video games, So that's where I agree with Greg that I think it's not about, wow, what an indictment on Trevor. No, that's the reality right now. Trevor's coming off of a season in which he played 9 games and was injured. Like, they're not trying to put him in primetime. What they aren't doing, and they should be doing, is putting Travis Hunter on display because that's going to help raise the league's profile. Ironic considering that their X profile right now, the header photo, is Travis Hunter.
Time now for the Terminix Pest of the Day. Terminix is an integral part of keeping Everbank Stadium, ViStar Ballpark, and ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena your favorite event venues by keeping pests and termites away. And now they have sprayed at our house to take care of mosquitoes. You do not want mosquitoes around your house all summer long. Everyone hates mosquitoes. Nobody likes mosquitoes. So visit them online at Terminix.com, Terminix.com. It's an easy one for the pest today. It's the Colts' original release video, their scheduled release video. They had to delete it because they, I guess, had something with Microsoft that they violated, but also they had an issue with, or Tyreek Hill said it wasn't an issue with him, but they used Tyreek Hill being detained by the Coast Guard in the video, and so they ended up having to delete it. That, to me, is a huge pest because you know me as well as anyone. How many hours do you think went into that initial video that the Colts put together with their multimedia team and their social people, and then all of a sudden they had to delete it after all those hours spent?
Well, you're also burying the lead. There was also this whole notion of the offending Tyreek Hill and Drew Rosenhaus getting involved, and now Tyreek Hill's out here tweeting in the last hour that he thought it was hilarious the Coast Guard was arresting him. Like, I don't know. Like, if you're going to, at that point in time, it's passed through so many people's oversight that you just have to laugh and just let it fly. I don't know. I agree it's frustrating if you're the one creating it because you're like, wow, I spent all those hours. But at the same time, it's more so it's an indictment on it's an indictment on society at large that we're going to cancel things left and right. But it's also an indictment on the Colts' bigger picture because how many people had to approve that before it got to that point?
Yeah, they said it exceeded their rights with Microsoft. I legit have no idea what that means. But we do know that they had to apologize for the insensitive clip involving Tyreek because they were poking fun at his run-in with the cops from last year, ahead of that Jaguars game, by the way. All right, Jordan Rodrigue from The Athletic joins us on the other side to talk all things Rams and Jaguars front office editions. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Take the straightaway at 200 miles an hour.
He's got him. Oh, there we go.
It's NASCAR's All-Star Race at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Sunday night, NASCAR is tuned up by Maxie's Mechanics on Jacksonville's NASCAR station 1010XL.
Need fresh and flavorful lunch? Chicken Salad Chick has scratch-made Southern-style chicken salad in every bite. It's quick and delicious, so why wait? Come taste the best chicken salad today at Town Center, Durbin Park, or Butler Point at Chicken Salad Chick.
The joys of home ownership. Until the plumbing backs up, the AC goes out, or your septic system decides to act up. The good news? You don't have to call 3 different companies when things go wrong. Just call my friends at Duck Duck Rooter. They're your one-stop shop for plumbing, septic, and air conditioning all under one roof. So whether it's a leak, a clog, or your system just won't cool, they've got you covered. Don't take my word for it. Check out their 5-star reviews on Google. From the moment you call to the moment the tech solves your issue, you will receive first-class service every step of the way. Give them a ring at 904-862-6769 or visit duckduckrooter.com. Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. One call does it all.
Need cash? Beaches Jewelry and Pawn has cash, and they're ready to buy guitars, surfboards, jewelry, firearms, tools, and especially gold. And gold market prices are at a record high. Get cash on the spot at Beaches Jewelry and Pawn in Jacks Beach.
Hi, folks. It's Frank Franz. Look, when it comes to glass needs around the home, there's one name I trust, Lee and Kate's Glass. Those beautiful custom glass shower enclosures, maybe a new mirror, a glass tabletop. They can even replace your foggy or cracked glass without having to replace the whole window. Lee and Kate's is local. They're family-owned. They've been a part of our community since 1926. Boy, they've taken care of me, including our brand new offices at Walk Off Charities. They did a great job. I promise they'll do the same for you. Visit leeandkatesglass.com.
It's the big reveal. Wow. How will the Jags do this season? Listen all day for our team's thoughts on the Jags' potential wins and losses. Revealed by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. And Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors.
The PGA Championship is known for testing a golfer's all-around game.
It's a very difficult putt to read.
Hear updates and coverage of the PGA Championship. Teed up by TopDressing.com and St. John's Middle School Athletic Association.
Keep your ride summer road trip ready with parts, tools, and accessories from Summit Racing. We have what you need for pre-trip maintenance, plus essentials like emergency roadside kits, tire inflators, jumper cables, boost jump starters, tool sets, and a whole lot more. So hit the highways or take the roads less traveled with confidence. Shop SummitRacing.com. Use promo code RADIO for $10 off an order of $100 or more. Exclusions apply. Offer ends May 25th, 2025. SummitRacing.com. Let's build it together.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. Call 904-722-1111.
Instant Keys saves the day if you've lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
You'll always feel good when you send someone a Kuhn Flowers floral or plant arrangement. This is JJ with 1010XL, and no matter what the reason, Kuhn Flowers has always come through for me. Order online at KuhnFlowers.com.
Looking for a fun-filled evening the whole family can enjoy? Discover the thrill of indoor football. A fast-paced, action-packed sport where excitement meets family fun. Check out your hometown Sharks this Saturday, May 17th. Kickoff at 7. Ask about family 4-packs, 4 tickets, 4 $10 food vouchers, and a $20 Al's Pizza gift card. All for only $100. Get tickets at jacksharks.com or call 904-621-0700. 904-621-0700.
Prosser here, looking for a fun-filled evening that the whole family can enjoy. Our Jacksonville Sharks are back in town this Saturday. Discover the thrill of indoor football. Fast-paced, action-packed sport where excitement beats family fun. This Saturday, May 17th, kickoff 7 o'clock. Ask about our family 4-packs, 4 tickets, 4 $10 food vouchers, and a $20 Al's Pizza gift card. All for only $100. For ticketing, go to jacksharks.com or call 904-621-0700.
Go Sharks!
When it comes to towing products, your safety is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
Ackerman Urology has 4 convenient locations providing advanced urological care to improve men's health and sexual vitality. Don't suffer through prostate, bladder, or kidney issues. Visit AckermanUrology.com.
The ultimate Pink Floyd experience is back. Rick Floyd returns, celebrating the 50th anniversary of Pink Floyd's legendary Wish You Were Here album. It's Brit Floyd, May 20th at Florida Theater. Tickets on sale now at floridatheater.com.
Frank Frangie here. I was talking to a buddy the other day. His HOA told him his old fence had to go. I said, man, call Coil Fencing. They've been around the block since 1927. Heck, they probably built half the fences in Jacksonville. They do it all. Tough chain link for security. Those fancy aluminum ones the HOA actually likes. Nearly a century of keeping yards safe and looking good. If you need a fence, call Coil. You can trust the folks at Coil. 904-356-4821 or visit coiljacks.com, COYLE, jacks.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Now that we've gotten that schedule stuff out of the way, it's time to get to why you are really here joining us on Helmets and Heels on a beautiful Thursday here in Duval County. Hopefully it's equally as beautiful out there in LA. That is where our friend Jordan Rodriguez covers the Los Angeles Rams, although I guess, Jordan, you do get to go to Hawaii in a couple weeks for mini camp. That's a pretty nice little surprise thrown into the off-season program.
Yeah, how absurd is that? I mean, it's great what they're doing. I have no complaints, man. Like, it is just every year this team decides they're going to try something different, and usually I benefit from it. So it's like pretty crazy.
Completely out of left field, did not see that coming until the announcement came.
Well, I learned about it at league meetings, and I had to like quadruple check. I'm like, you mean this year? Because normally, it's something that you would plan so far in advance, but with the wildfire relief that they've been doing out in that area, and then also combined with the wildfire relief that they've been doing here in Los Angeles, it makes sense. But I was like, wait, you mean next year, right? Like next year? No. We're going to pick up the entire operation and go out to Maui this year in like several weeks. So that was, once I got over the shock, I was like, oh, heck yeah.
We have a friend who works on Maui, so I can give you some recommendations, Jordan.
Oh, thank you. I was gonna, it'll be my first time. If I get to go, it'll be my first time, so that'll be really cool.
Yeah, I guess I'll make sure that you are going before I send those. All right, let's get to this game in Wembley Stadium between the Rams and the Jaguars. Obviously, from a Jaguars perspective, it's like little brother going up against big brother. But something tells me that the Rams are far more worried about some other games.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I think it'll be interesting. I know that it's going to be a real family feeling type of environment because there's a lot of, as we know, we've talked about at length, a lot of connections, obviously, between the two organizations. But it's also like going on a road trip with your siblings or something. Like, that's kind of what this feels like to me. And I think it's cool because I think there's a lot of opportunity for, like, joint community work, joint just, like, experiences and sharing those types of things. Now, the game, I guess, relative to, like, in division or in conference matchups, it's relatively low stakes, but it'll be competitive because Liam Cohen is going to want to beat Sean McVay, and Sean McVay is going to want to beat Liam Cohen. Les Snead is going to want to beat James Gladstone. James Gladstone is going to want to beat Les Snead. So that part of it, once the game begins, I think that'll get pretty fun.
I plan on peppering you with questions about some of those front office changes, probably for the rest of the time you join us on the Checkmate Coatings Hotline, Jordan. But one more question about that matchup, because we just went through the Jaguars schedule weeks 1 through 17, or I guess through 18. My question for you is, and we did our official predictions too, and I have the Rams winning this game solely because I have predicted the demise and the aging of Matt Stafford each of the last 2 seasons, and I have been proven wrong each of the last 2. I'm never picking against him again. What say you as far as the state of this roster heading into 2025?
Yeah, Mia, it's rule number 1 of coming out to Los Angeles from anywhere else. You start to age in reverse, my friend.
Hey,
so,
I mean, that's why they got all the various cosmetic options for you to restore your health.
Yeah, I don't even want to know some of the stuff that exists out there for people to internally and externally age in reverse out here. But yeah, it's, this is a team that's made itself very clear, especially with how they went about just sort of patching little fixes in the draft, going after Sean McVay's favorite player and Terrence Ferguson, the tight end out of Oregon, but also patching these little areas of need and sort of going after specific players that they wanted, which I know you guys saw a lot of recently in Jacksonville as well, that part of the strategy. They've needed to improve in smaller areas, depth in certain places. The fifth pass rusher, for example, the extra depth at inside linebacker, extra depth at running back. Those types of things are done by this team in the phase of their team building model where they believe they're in contention. And I think based on the last 2 seasons, they're right. They have this young roster that they've built over the last 2 draft classes, and then some core veterans that still can lift the floor of where the roster could be at its worst, and then can lift them to new ceilings at its best. And I think that the second you make the agreement with Matthew Stafford to return for at least one more season, you're immediately saying, okay, how can we push to get through that next phase of contention, past the playoffs, and into real Super Bowl contention? That's the message this team is sending right now.
Jordan, about when did you figure out James Gladstone was going to become a general manager for a different organization?
Well, so my thing was that I thought he was going to walk into the sunset after Les retired. You heard some whispers at certain points that, the Rams were sort of had one eye on him because eventually, even though LA is LA, we all do age. And so eventually, I think Les has got a lot of years left in him in his career, but eventually, this happens. And so the Rams had one eye on him, of course, and we're sort of looking at him in that lens as well. But I remember when I was doing the Finding Rams series, it was about, I want to say 3 months in, and I called Les just to go over some of the things that I was kind of getting from some of the meetings. And James was the point person for all of those meetings and all of those, not just running the scouting strategy, but also for me. I was checking with him constantly on different details, different facts, questions, all of those things. Somehow he was very patient with me through that process because I knew nothing going into it. But I called Les and I was like, you better give that guy a raise because you're going to lose him. And Les, I think that was the first time Les ever actually got mad at me. You talk to him, you watch how he runs a meeting, you watch how he understands and communicates about football. You're in a room with him for all of 5 minutes and you just know he's kind of just not just built for this type of job, but sort of born for it, I think.
Jordan Rodrigue of the Athletic, as well as NFL Daily, joining us on the Checkmate Coatings hotline. It is time, my friend. It is time. We want the scoop, which I actually want to paint the picture as such, Jordan. It was brought to my attention, and I brought this up on the air, I think it must have been last week or earlier this week, that while everyone, and we've had you on previously to discuss it, and everyone seemingly knows about the Finding Rams 2-part series that you did with James Gladstone for The Athletic, you actually had also penned another behind-the-scenes look at the Los Angeles Rams and their scouting operation back in 2020, which revealed that they were already planning this current structure, not to mention being virtual, skipping major, if you may, watershed, as many believe them to be, moments of the offseason program between the NFL Combine and the Senior Bowl in person. They were planning on that prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. I want to paint the picture and start there because obviously J.W. Jordan, Brian Zanders, two front office personnel staffers who are not officially listed on the Jaguars website yet, but have been reported to be joining James Gladstone here in Jacksonville, had a major hand in designing that scouting department in LA.
Yeah, these guys that you're seeing, they were sort of the architects of what built the Rams into what the Rams are from a front office and scouting perspective. What I really liked about how James is going about hiring these specific people is these are all very tenured, old school scouts who also have a hyper modern and hyper progressive way of thinking about how the process of scouting is done and how the process of team building is done. To go back to your initial point, yeah, they were changing into a lot of virtual work and a lot of this remote operation and not going to the Combine, not going to the All-Star games in totality, while still sending specific people to go do some specific fact-finding for the sake of efficiency, but also because they felt like it removed a lot of the noise from the process. So what a lot of people don't know on the outside is when you are a Les Snead or a Sean McVay and you go to, for example, the Senior Bowl, you're really not getting a ton of time to watch tape on prospects because the Senior Bowl is also a job fair. It's super valuable in finding prospects, and that and the Shrine Bowl are two of the best events you could possibly have tape from as a scout, as a front office person. They're fantastic. But it's also a job fair. So if you're Les Snead and you're sitting in the bleachers in Mobile, Alabama, you're actually not even turned to face the field. You're turned having a conversation with, X personnel assistant from Y team, the college person from, wherever. You're just constantly inundated with that type of networking conversation, which is really great if you're ascending and you're a rising scout, you're a rising executive, all of that. That's awesome. And some people can multitask in that way, but they felt like they just weren't getting enough laser focused time on the prospects themselves, especially in the meetings. I mean, I sat in the interviews, in the nighttime interviews that they run during those tentpole events, those All-Star games. I was in the room, and you're not getting time with players. Some people, like Mike Tomlin, for example, is so gifted at immediately reaching in and getting to know who the player is, getting to understand exactly what they're about in a matter of seconds. He's so good at that. But that's not everybody's gift. And when you understand that your gift is breaking down tape and really understanding and building a full picture over time of a prospect, those events become less important for the sake of what they are really, and the tape becomes the all-important thing. That's how the Rams had thought about it, and that's what they wanted to try to experiment with when they rebuilt their processes in this way. And like I mentioned, the people that you mentioned and then some of the other names that are out there about joining Jacksonville, these are all the people who were the architects of that process way back in the day.
Jordan, spoiler alert for people, you predicted the Rams to go 12-5. I'm guessing you have the Rams winning at Wembley Stadium against the Jaguars.
I didn't do a game-by-game prediction. I'm here for chaos. I would like to see...
Los Angeles, because this is who the Jaguars want to model their entire system after. Los Angeles, because this is who the Jaguars want to model their entire system after as far as player procurement goes.
Yes. Okay, RJ, are you listening? We're going to call an audible. I'm texting with Jordan right now. She just got disconnected. In case you're just listening to 1010XL, we've had some power issues throughout the area. We're going to take a break because I know we got to hit a PGA championship update. And then we will come back with Jordan Rodriguez because we do still have a couple other names we need to hit that have reportedly joined the Jacksonville Jaguars front office. Don't go anywhere. Helmets and Heels with Jordan Rodriguez continues right after this.
Now, a PGA Championship update on 1010XL. Teed up by St. John's Middle School Athletic Association and TopDressing.com.
Westwood One Sports presents this special report on the 107th PGA Championship, sponsored by Wrangler. Shop Wrangler.com for new denim styles to kickstart your day. Wrangler, for the ride of life. A month after Rory McIlroy capped off the career Grand Slam at Augusta, Jordan Spieth would love to do the same at Quail Hollow.
If I could only win one tournament the rest of my life, I'd pick this one for that reason. Obviously, watching Rory win after giving it a try for a number of years was inspiring. But I'd love to throw my hat in the ring and give it a chance come the weekend this week.
This is Spieth's 9th attempt at the Grand Slam. He tees off this hour. Speaking of Rory, you might think he'd dominate where he has won 4 times on tour. No. McIlroy 2 over with 2 holes to play. Rory hits it far. He's not hitting it into the fairway, and he is paying for it today. Steven Yeager and Ryan Gerard lead at 5 under. Luke Donald, Ryan Fox, Alex Smalley, 1 back at 4 under. I'm Ted Emmerich, Westwood One Sports.
When I wake up,
the best mornings
in the morning light,
start with Wrangler.
I pull on my jeans and I feel alright.
Jeans, jackets, and shirts that get your day started. Good mornings make for better days. Wrangler, for the ride of life.
Working as a dedicated Fidelity advisor, I always ask, what's important to you? I'll look at those priorities and goals alongside your full financial picture to build a comprehensive plan designed to help grow and protect your wealth. With proactive portfolio insights and an eye on taxes, I'm here to help you make the most of your money. I'm Laura Maxwell, and I'm a dedicated Fidelity advisor. Learn more at fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
When I wake up,
the best mornings
in the morning light,
start with Wrangler.
I pull on my jeans and I feel alright.
Jeans, jackets, and shirts that get your day started. Good mornings make for better days. Wrangler, for the ride of life.
Lauren Brooks here. It's the Cruise into Summer event at Hodges Mazda at the Avenues. For a limited time, get up to $5,000 off a new 2024 Mazda CX-50 Preferred and receive a free 5-day cruise for 2 with your purchase. With off-road capability and this special offer, your summer adventure starts now. But you better hurry. 2024 Mazda CX-50 Preferred models are in limited supply at Hodges Mazda. Offer valid on new 2024 Mazda CX-50 Preferred only. MSRP $32,564. Must trade in a vehicle and finance through dealer to qualify for discount. Cruise and vehicle availability limited. Travel taxes and fees additional. See dealer for details.
Hey folks, Rick Ballou here for John's Auto. They've been a staple in Jacksonville going all the way back to 1985. At John's Auto, they service all makes, all models, cars, trucks, diesel, you name it, they do it. Whether it's routine maintenance or a complete engine overhaul. Call John's Auto on Arlington Road. That's 904-743-3857 or go to johnsautomotivejacks.com.
David Lane here, and once again, I'm happy to share news of my success with back and knee surgeries at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Whatever it is that's bothering you, take it from me. Simply set an appointment today at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists and let them help you get back to normal life. I'm certainly glad I did.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
It's not too late for a deep spring cleaning on your home. Give my friends at Zero Res a call. Mayhem. 3-room special starting at $149, plus the 4th room is free. Visit ZeroResJacksonville.com and tell them 1010XL sent you.
Zero Res.
Hey, this is Coach Jason Gibson of your Jacksonville Sharks. I know the importance of a strong game plan, and that's exactly what I've got with Clay Solar Installation Partners. They did the install of the solar panels at my house, and I couldn't be happier. Lower energy bills, clean power, and a winning team that made the whole process easy. If you're looking to save money and go solar, trust the pros at Clay Solar. Call Karen at Clay Solar today and tell them that Coach Gibson sent you.
Start your Saturday with a whiff of the great outdoors.
Captain Kevin Favor here with Captain Kirk and Jeff Loggeman, and we bring you the fresh air of the great outdoors.
On the Nimnit Outdoors Show, presented by Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning on 1010XL.
Your yard starting to look a little like a jungle? Well, it might be time for a little TLC. Or how about RTC, Russell Tree Care? At Russell Tree Care, they give your trees the perfect haircut. Whether it's trimming or removing, they'll make sure your yard looks its best, all while keeping safety as a top priority. Call Russell Tree Care today and let them take care of your trees. Russell Tree Care, 844-4Mr. Wood. That's 844-467-9663. Or visit RussellTreeCareLLC.com today. Your trees will thank you.
Hi, I'm Malcolm Anthony. Have you been charged with a crime? You don't have to face it alone. I'm here for you. Stay out of trouble, but if you don't, call me. 285-4LAW. That's 285-4LAW in the 904.
Guys, your lawn's the home field. Now you can champion your St. Augustine grass. TopDressing.com just hit Jacksonville with a game-changing patented process. Aerate and transform your turf into a fairway-worthy masterpiece. Less water, shorter cuts, and the envy of every neighbor. No one else delivers a perfect 10 lawn like this. Visit TopDressing.com and dominate your block with the same process that golf courses use. Top dress your lawn like the pros with TopDressing.com.
Are you struggling with hair loss? At IHRS, we understand because we've been there too. We're dedicated to finding the best solution tailored just for you.
My hair looks great. It was thinning, and IHRS restored my hair.
It's now fuller, it's thicker, voluminous. It's made me feel great.
With the latest technology and FDA-approved laser therapy, PRP, and non-surgical hair addition, we offer guaranteed solutions for men and women.
With over 35 years of experience, IHRS found a hair restoration for us, and we can find one for you.
For me.
For me.
And me too.
Visit hairforme.com or call 904-777-IHRS. Get a free microscopic analysis and get to the root of your problem. This $395 analysis is yours for free. Call 904-777-4477 now.
It's the perfect day. You're just driving along, listening to your favorite music, the windows down. There's a cool breeze. Life is good. But wait, hold on a second. You're not wearing a seatbelt? You'd better put that on before that... Uh-oh, too late. Cops everywhere are stepping up enforcement, so you'd better buckle up or you will get caught. Sorry to ruin your day. Click it or ticket.
Funded by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Are you ready to reclaim your backyard? Serving Northeast Florida since 1977, Surfside Pools is the trusted name for expert pool design. Family owned and operated, they offer pool service, equipment repairs, commercial maintenance, remodels, and new pool construction. Let Surfside Pools transform your backyard into the oasis that you crave. Are you ready to float happy? Visit surfsidepools.net or call 246-2666. Surfside Pools and Spas, where luxury meets leisure.
License number CPC 044080.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
Cooling down, but we're staying hot. Jordan Rodriguez back from whatever technological snafu we just experienced. But hey, as 333 on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures, noted, Jordan, you got the chaos that you wanted in the Rams schedule in the form of your call being disconnected, but we are happy to have you back here on the Checkmate Coatings hotline for a couple more questions. We wanted to dive into some of those names reported to be joining James Gladstone in the front office here in Jacksonville. Let's begin with the new Director of College Scouting, Brian Hill.
Yeah, B. Hill, as he is known was known around the Rams offices. So he's a really interesting case study in, I think, leadership and also how to better attune your leadership style to a range of styles and personalities and really understand the people who work for you, because he really is one of the people that taught Les, and in turn James as well, a big lesson in that, because B. Hill is really a nose to the grindstone scout. Like, he works, and he's also very quiet, and when he says something, it has a lot of weight to it and a lot of impact, because he only speaks up when it is important to do so. And I think that's one of the reasons why Les especially gravitated toward him, because often Les is put in as Les actually identifies as an introvert and is often in an extroverted role. And I think he really gravitated toward B. Hill's personality style and really trying to amplify that as a superpower, as they would call it, because when someone with those qualities and those traits speaks, they have a reason to do so, and they often have gone over these very intensive arguments and details before even presenting the information. And so I think this is great because he's incredibly knowledgeable, incredibly connected across the country, because he's been in a variety of different scouting roles for the Rams, including, by the way, being the one who brought everyone's attention and pounded the table in meetings to the point where they did start paying more attention to this quiet, at the time, Pacific Northwest scout when they were scouting Cooper Kupp. And he really is somebody who I think Brad Holmes really championed as well, and somebody who I think is going to be great for this role because of his contacts, his connections, his knowledge of the entire college football landscape, but also because he is going to be the person in the meeting that when he says something, when he speaks, people will listen because they know it will have some weight to it.
Jordan, I feel like Jake Teme is already famous around these parts because he was featured in a Jaguars behind-the-scenes video when James Gladstone and Tony Baselli are walking along the field, and Jake was on speakerphone because he had to be with his wife, who was expecting and delivering a baby. And they asked, "Are we still in on Travis Hunter?" Of course, the video doesn't show us exactly, or doesn't tell us who they were talking about, but they said, "Are we still in?" And they were talking about Travis Hunter, and Jake says, "Hell yes." And so I feel like he's already, like I said, kind of a little bit of a legend here.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Jake, when you guys come to to the combine next year, you guys got to go to the big data bowl and start asking some of the analytics people about Jake Temmie. And it's like you're talking about like Superman, right? Like he's that rare case of somebody who not only is, and I don't cover him anymore, so I can say this fairly without bias, like he's brilliant. And I feel like it's so hard for people in that world to cross over into analytics, from analytics into football, and find a way to marry the two roles together. And I would call Jake sort of a pioneer of being able to do that in the instance where we're seeing it more and more. And 10 years ago, he's one of the first people to start doing that when working with the Rams. He built, with Ryan Garlish, who's still in Los Angeles, he built JARS into what it is today. And he's going to do the same thing with Blackwater, which is the Jaguars version of this data input and processing system that also has projection modeling ability, analytical ability, all of those types of things. I won't bore you with you guys with that today. But it is going to be really interesting because he walks with a foot in the football side and he walks with a foot in the analytical side and the math and the programming and the coding. And it's interesting because I think he's brought James way further into that world as well. And so I think he's going to be a resource and have a hand in every part of that building sort of quietly, and also kind of in a similar fashion to what James used to be for the Rams, where you would see him everywhere and hear about him being everywhere, but you'd never really see him in the front of anything. And I think it's only a matter of time before we start seeing Jake Temmie in the front of things.
Jordan, let's wrap with this on the Checkmate Coatings hotline. Neil Stratton at Inside the League on X, who, of course, does a great job following all of the front office moves, noted that the Los Angeles Rams had 6 senior personnel executives last year, more than any other team, certainly with some of the elevated roles that have been passed out here in Jacksonville this week. Regis Eller now becoming a senior personnel executive. Josh Scobie, no, not the kicker, the other Josh Scobie, also now receiving that elevated title. We still don't know exactly what JW and Xander's titles will be. It's starting to take shape, is it not, what this organization and this front office will look like under James Gladstone, right down to him hiring another young up-and-comer, much like he once upon a time was, as his assistant in Charlie Stone. And so I'm curious for you, as we've now seen some things start to come to the forefront, where do you envision and how do you envision this operating? Will it be just like the Los Angeles Rams the last few seasons?
Yeah, well, I think as a writer, I would want to say it feels like fate. You know, it's very, you see, it looks very familiar, right? As a writer, I want to use that type of word. But if I'm James, the word I would use, or the assessment I would give would be, you know, not really sure if fate exists, but the importance of patterns exists, and the importance of following tried and true methodology and process. And that seems like what's happening here. I think that those senior executives, too, I wanted to take a minute, J.W. Jordan and Brian Xanders, 2 people I learned a lot from, actually, in Los Angeles. And those are 2 people who will be in James's ear. They'll be confidants. They'll be film study, you know, knuckleheads sitting in there. Probably need to keep them out of the same office because God only knows what would happen. But, you know, these are 2 very senior people who have experienced a lot of football in a lot of different styles of football and a lot of different styles of team building, and they're local to the area. So I think that probably was part of the reason why they could even be pried away from Les Snead in the first place. But there's a really interesting mix of like old school process and modern thinking. And I think that when you look at James and you see how young he looks, it's hard to sort of match that sentence and that description to him visually. But that's really how he is internally, and that's how he thinks. And so it's no surprise to me that he wants to build his staff in the same way, a mixture of extremely modern ideas and people he already knows he can collaborate with and works well with, but old school process, that old school like scout grinding the tape kind of personality. So all these guys would be more than happy. I mean, he's probably going to have them out and talking to the media because he wants to amplify his people. But these guys, all of them to a T, Michael Pierce, like all of these guys to a T would be more than happy sitting in a bunker for weeks on end just watching tape. And so I think it is. It's going to be really interesting to see how they build out of this. And like I said, not necessarily following fate, but following this process and this pattern that really meant something to James when he was here in LA.
What's so funny, Jordan, is during the break, which thank you again for rejoining us after those technical difficulties, I said to Lauren, I'm like, I do want to ask her about Xanders and JW specifically. And then we looked at the clock and we're like, we don't know if we're going to have time. You hit it anyways. YouAreTheBomb.com. Jordan Rodriguez, senior writer for The Athletic, as well as the co-host of NFL Daily with Greg Rosenthal. Always appreciate you hopping on, friend. You know you are always welcome on Helmets and Heels.
Thanks, guys. I love being on with you. Thanks for. I thought I was yapping too much, and that was why I got cut. So thanks for bringing me back on.
RJ wasn't kidding. When RJ told you when you were on hold that we had technical issues earlier today, we literally had a generator blow up down the street. But everything is good. We're rocking and rolling, and you are a rock star, Jordan Rodriguez of The Athletic. Let's say hello to XL Primetime.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. CoolCatsJacks.com.
The coolest cats in town.
All right, Leon, what'd you think when the schedule was released at 8 o'clock last night?
Listen, I was optimistic about the schedule, concerned a little bit about those West Coast trips, especially the Vegas, then Houston, and then home, and then we got another one against Arizona. So that's concerning.
And then later back to Denver.
Back to Denver, yeah. So I mean that's a little concerning. But look, here's was my approach when I played. We didn't have the schedule released like we have now.
Right.
Well, you figure you want to go undefeated at home. More than likely you won't. 6-2 at home, 500 on the road. That'll get you in the playoffs. That's the way we approach it. That's the way I approach it. I figure that we go 6-2 at home at worst, and then you split the road trips 500. That's 10-6. Gets you in the playoffs all the time.
Yeah, and now you have a little grace because there's 17 games.
Yeah.
What did you think of the video itself? The one the Jaguars put out, obviously.
Well, Joe just sent it to me. I'm going to have to check it out before the show. Joe just sent it to me.
Okay. It's a fitness influencer.
I saw that. You talk about the guy with the face and the
face and the cold ice water.
And the cold ice water.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That was a little intense. Okay. Was that a player?
No, just at least not to my knowledge.
Okay.
I think fitness influencer Ashton Hall is what I know.
Oh, nice.
What's coming up on primetime?
Oh, what schedule? Absolutely. Schedule all day. It's May right now, so we may be a little optimistic in some of the games.
I love it.
So I'm Carolina at home. I like that. I like we got Cincy week 2. They have a tendency to struggle early out the gate, so you never know.
I like it. All right, thanks, Leon.
You got it.
We'll be listening. That'll do it for us today. For the vacationing Taylor Dahl, for Mia O'Brien, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. These heels are made for talking. We will talk to you tomorrow, but don't go anywhere. XL Primetime and more of the Jaguars schedule comes